Yes. Take those masks off if you're on a plane. I've seen all kinds of videos circling the internet where people are just sort of like celebrating. You're seeing stewardesses and pilots celebrating. The mask mandate was struck down. The CDC's mask mandate. But the Justice Department is saying that they will not appeal the federal district judge's ruling that ended the nation's federal mask mandate on public transit unless the CDC believes the requirement is still necessary, so that leaves it open. In a statement released the day after a judge ended the sweeping mandate, which required face coverings on planes and trains and automobiles. Well, not automobiles. I just wanted to throw that in there. In transit hubs, Justice Department spokesman Anthony Coley said officials believe that the federal mask order was a valid exercise of the authority Congress has given the CDC to protect the public's health. He said it was an important authority the department will continue to work to preserve. He also said that the CDC has said that it would continue to assess public health conditions, and if the agency determined a mandate was necessary for public health, the Justice Department would file an appeal. As of Tuesday, I don't know if they had to, I have to see if they made that since then, but as of Tuesday, they had not made a determination.
Right.
Now, I personally have not traveled anywhere since the pandemic. The pandemic has really changed my life. Like I said, the organization I work with, we put on all kinds of different events, and we were doing events at the senior building. We were doing events at this place, that place in Maryville. Working with the Field Museum people, working with Valparaiso University, working with all these different people, going to all these different events. And then the pandemic came and just put a squash on that. Okay.
Yep.
And we've only had one event. Fairly recently, though we do plan on getting back in the swing of things this summer. I will definitely tell you guys about that when that happens. But I have not been on a plane or a train. I've been in automobiles by myself since the pandemic started. You, Rev, though, I know you've been on some planes since the pandemic, right?
Well, not as much as I used to.
Right.
In fact, there were some trips I had scheduled, and then the people that I was supposed to go see canceled.
Right.
We did a lot of Zoom meetings over the past 2 years.
Right.
But the tides, they are a-turning. As a matter of fact, next week I'm traveling. We're going to New York City for a conference I got to speak at. In May, we're going to be driving to Illinois. In June, we're traveling down to Mobile, Alabama. No. July, Mobile, Alabama. In June, we're going to North Carolina, Hendersonville, North Carolina. And then I think we get a little bit of a break. And then in October, we're flying to San Diego. So it's not as much as I used to have to do, but it's a whole lot more than I've been doing and a lot more than I'm, accustomed to now. I had learned to like the Zoom.
Yeah, a lot of people have.
But people like to talk to missionaries and hear stories, and they really like to see my kids. That's what I think it is. They think the girls are cute, and so I'm just getting me out there is just the excuse to get to see them. That's what I think it is.
So how many flights have you taken since the pandemic started? Since 2020, I guess, March or April?
I would say probably altogether maybe 5. I remember doing one to Vegas, one to San Diego. That one was so weird, the one we did to San Diego, because they had us in this hotel, and we were in this one area. We were doing the conference streamed. So we had a broadcasting studio and everything, and food was brought to us. And inside our little area, you didn't have to wear a mask inside of our area, because most of the people there, this was still early in the pandemic. So most of the people that were there were still more or less of the mind that this was some sort of government plot.
And so, an intricate plot.
Yes. And so it's kind of funny because at one point, because Lanita didn't come with me on that trip, and at one point I'm showing her the studio, and she goes, "Are those chairs 6 feet apart?" And I was like, well, "I don't know, honey." She says, "They need to be 6 feet apart." And so I dutifully took the chair that was in the middle of the group and pushed it back, and then I sat in it, hoping that, you know, the producers and stuff wouldn't really notice all that much and wouldn't make me put it back, because she was bird dogging me on that trip.
Right, so it's become very inconvenient to travel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Like I said, I'm so glad that I haven't had to travel, I haven't had to do anything, and I've been basically able to avoid the hassle. Because I mean, have you seen the amount of the level of vitriol and this, you know, the level of violence that has been taking place on these planes over the past 2 years? Like, it is crazy how insane people have gotten on these planes, you know. And we're going to talk about another plane incident.
I'm just hoping that next week, you know, that all the crazies either will be gone at 6 o'clock in the morning,
right,
or won't be getting on the plane until much later. We're leaving Thursday. We're coming back Saturday. So my deepest hope is that all of those people will be going the opposite direction as us.
Right, right. It feels like this pandemic, and we talk about it pretty often on this show, the mental health aspect of the pandemic, but it sounds like this pandemic has brought out the worst in humanity. It really has. And what I'm seeing, here's the crazy thing is that I was looking recently, and they said that Europe has not faced the level of crime increase that America has, that other first world nations have not seen the type of crime increase that America has since the pandemic started. I thought it would be sort of across the board, you know, because a lot of crime seems to go in waves.
Yeah.
But it really hasn't. It's just been an American issue. Like, this pandemic has exposed a lot of the schisms in our country, a lot of the hatred, disdain, disgust that we have for each other. And it has gotten bad, especially in a lot of the inner cities.
I mean, you know what? I mean, on the one hand, let's be honest, American media is very, very myopic. I mean, if they report anything that's going on overseas, it's only because it bleeds, basically.
Right.
So we don't really know what day-to-day life is like in most other countries.
Well, I'm just looking at the statistics. Y'all just looking at it statistically.
Yeah, but I'm finding myself wondering, I mean, is it that they are who they are, we are who we are,
right,
and the pandemic just, you know, showed it.
Right.
And so you got a country like, say, the Netherlands, where everybody's become comfortably numb. You know, everybody's chilling. And so during the pandemic, they were chilling.
Right.
And then on the other hand, you got a country like the United States that seems to live and breathe off of conflict.
Yeah.
And so everybody getting their haterade on.
Right, right. I mean, I played the clip of Lori Lightfoot at the beginning, you know, because I thought it was hilarious. But at the same time, I do think it's unfair to the way that some people are specifically blaming her for crime going up in Chicago when crime is going up everywhere at the same exact time. Like, it's not Lori Lightfoot's fault that the pandemic happened and that crime is going up everywhere at the same exact time in this country. It's not even, you can't even blame defund the police, because crime is just going up across the board. You know, crime is going up when even in places where they didn't necessarily defund the police, crime's still going up. We're all going, like I said, people, I mean, defunding the police isn't the reason that people is flipping out on airplanes, that domestic violence has gone up, that child abuse has gone up. This is a societal issue. And until we deal with the sort of issues that we have in our frayed society, then, you know, we're going to keep having these types of problems, bro.
Right. I mean, it gets down to, at a certain level, there are certain cultural things America has, at least in terms of its mythos, talked about its, its thing about rugged individualism. And so if that is your dominant quality, that everybody's a rugged individualist, or at least all the people that we should emulate and model and praise are rugged individualists, well, that means at heart, there's not really that much of a community spirit.
Right.
It's every man being a rugged individualist.
Right.
Now, at the same time, we have these other stories, like about the community barn raising and, how Americans, when there's crisis, we come together and we give more money than every other nation on the planet. We're kind of schizophrenic, I guess.
Yeah. We have a caller.